right, here we go. We've got Periscope number 3. For anybody who's watching, I'm having a blast doing these, and so I hope you enjoy them as well. If I'm going to be drawing and sketching, which I do all the time, I might as well take the time and put it on video and let people see what's going on, because I really enjoy that. So thought I'd try something different. So for anybody who's watched the first 2 videos, what I did was this piece, a color sketch illustration of Marvel's character Taskmaster, and went through my process as far as the penciling to inking and adding color, and finished that yesterday. And what we're going to do today instead is I'm going to do a piece of the Incredible Hulk here on some green paper, and I've had the colored paper for a while. It comes in kind of these bright rainbow colors: blue, purple, yellow, pink, orange, and every once in a while I get an idea of drawing, a character that goes along with that color on the colored paper, and it's a lot of fun. People seem to like them, so I thought I would go ahead and give it a try, and maybe put a few of these together. So we're gonna go with green, and we're gonna go with the Hulk. So here we go. So I've done a little preliminary sketch of kind of where I want to go with it to start with. So hopefully I'll kind of be able to follow along in that guideline, and we'll see how it goes. So here's the head, and kind of make him kind of lunging forward. One of the elements that you want to think about when you're drawing characters that you want to have show power, show movement, show whatever intensity, whatever it is that you tend to make them facing left to right. Left to right shows motion and movement, and that's because anybody who reads English or any of the other, I guess, Western languages, we read from left to right, and so we think of this as forward. This is always forward, this is always backwards. So if you want to show the power, you show them going this way. If you want to show somebody who is more stable, solid, not moving, you face them the other way. So in this one, the Hulk is all about power and energy and everything. So I'm going to have him facing to the right of the page. The other thing that I'm going to be doing is, you're going to see, so I've got his head, and I'm kind of doing where his neck would come off the back of his head here and into his shoulders. And because he's so big and muscular, he's going to have, shoulders that are all hunched up and bunched up, and the muscles of the shoulders and the back there. And one of the things that helps with the characters and showing movement is separating and moving the head as far away from the hips or center of the body as you can. If your head and your hips are lined up, you're very stable, very stationary, stoic. The more you move those head and hips apart, the more movement there is to the body. And so what I want to do here is, even though the head is in the center, I'm taking now the head, and the rest of the body is coming out here. So you're going to see his chest and shoulders and other arm would be out here. And so that really means that his hips would be way out here. And so we've got this big separation, yet keeping the character in the center of the page. So do that. We got body, kind of where the ribs would be here, kind of makes a bump down to here. This shoulder over here is going to be, and then what I'm going to do is come in here. This is the other arm that he has raised up into the side. And there we go. And then maybe you kind of see just an edge of the leg right there. Okay, so that's what I'm going to go with. So again, thank you for everybody who's joining. I see I got a couple of people watching. Thank you very much. I'm going to be working on a Incredible Hulk piece on green paper, and be talking about some of the cool stuff that you can do when you're working on a colored paper surface. You know, whether it's like this green or sometimes just a gray surface. You can work black and on a black piece of paper, and then use the white use white ink or white tools to draw on. So there's a lot of options. I'm working on color, and while a lot of the ideas are the premise is very similar, there's definitely some things that you have to think about and pay attention to. So I'm going to get into the details of the face. So I've got where the eyes are going to be, and of course he's got a big heavy brow because he is the Hulk. And one of the ways that you can make your characters, again, like say the Hulk or any of the larger, big strong characters, really look that way is by shortening the nose. You give them sort of more of a pug nose, and what it's going to do is extend the mouth. It makes the eyes and nose close together, kind of gives them that, again, like it's sort of a pug look or monster type look, whatever you want to, however you want to think about it. And then look at the eyes squinted up because he's going after somebody, unfortunately. And then here's where the cheekbone would be, is in there. And right now you can see there's a lot of lines. It's very messy. Hopefully you can kind of see all these lines that I'm doing. And basically what I'm doing is just kind of shaping in the areas where I think I want lines, where I think I'm going to want this drawing to go. But I'm not really committed to anything. That was one of the things that I didn't learn until pretty late. The person who kind of taught me about that, I was in college, and here I went to college to be an art education major. And, when I drew, for me, I had a picture in my head, and I would draw, and whatever I, put my pencil or pen to the paper, I wanted that line was going to be the perfect line. And I would I would draw, and if it wasn't quite perfect, I would abandon that drawing. And I had sketchbook after sketchbook of half done abandoned drawings because a line didn't come out right. And I actually had somebody show me how they did it, and they show me this, where they put down a whole bunch of lines, because you see right here, like I had the cheek was too flat, I want it to come out more. They put down all kinds of lines, and then basically what they said was, I pick the lines I want. And then you can either erase, if you're going to keep it in pencil, you can erase the lines that you don't want. Or in my case, if I'm going to use pens and ink it, then I'm inking only the lines that I want. So it's one of the things that I see a lot when kids, I say kids, could be any age, but tends to be, younger people come to conventions and they'll ask me to look at their work for them, which I'm always happy to do. I really enjoy it, and it, speaks to my educational background as a teacher, and I like it. But one of the things that they do a lot is that, where they're trying to draw that perfect, absolute perfect line, and if they can't get it, they kind of abandon it. And, what I mean is, they'll start drawing the Hulk's face, and if they come in too far, and then they go to make the nose, and then that's not where I wanted it, it's done. They forget about it. As opposed to being more sketchy, working through it. Because sometimes you'll find you put a line down, and you didn't even realize it was the perfect line that you wanted until you get it down, and you start looking at the whole thing as a total composition, and pretty quick you realize, hey, this is pretty cool. So thank you to all the people who are watching. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. As I said with the first couple videos, what I'm doing, I'm recording it here on my phone, and so I've got the rig up next to me, and I can see the screen. Every once in a while I lean back and take a look at the screen, make sure that you can see see the image okay. But I'm also looking for any comments, any questions. It'll flash across the screen, kind of scrolls this way for me, goes, and then it sort of disappears. So if there's anything that you want to say, any questions you have about the way I do stuff, or just general questions, what kind of, ask me about what comics I like, what do I read, what did I have for dinner tonight, whatever crosses your mind, feel free to ask, and then I'll do my best to answer those questions. And if if I don't answer or I don't see it right away, it's because I'm looking at the page, at the artwork. Just keep re-asking. Just type it again a couple times until I catch it and I'm able to answer your question. So, but thank you again for joining, and anybody who's here watching live, and then of course down the road, anybody who watches the replay. I really appreciate the support. It's a lot of fun, and something I really enjoy doing. And like I said, I'm going to be drawing anyway. I try to, if possible, draw just about every day. I'm not always able to do it, or there's sometimes when I'm just tired and it's my day off and I need a break. But other than that, in some way, I'm usually trying to pick up a pen, pencil, something every day, and just, even if it's a doodle, sometimes it'll just be a little something on a piece of paper at work, or whatever the case may be. But I always try to get a little something down every day, and keep the skills sharp, keep my mind in that state of mind of drawing and creating. So I figure, like I said, if I'm going to be doing it every day, why not put it on film, right? Why not put it captured on camera and see if people actually want to see what's going on. And so far, it's been, I really appreciate the support. It's been excellent and really encouraging for me, and I'm hoping that it'll grow. So if you like this, if you like what I'm working on here, if you like what you see with my broadcasts, share them. Let other people know what's coming up when I'm posting. Follow me on Twitter so you can see the announcements automatically of when I'm going to be doing it, and come join me. So cool. Thank you very much for coming on. Looks like had somebody just join. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, working on the Hulk on green paper here. So, now I've got the majority of the pencils kind of where I want them. They're a little, what we call rough or loose, because I don't need them to be exact at this point, because I'm going to ink it. So, I know what lines I want to pick out, what lines I don't want to pick out. If I was going to ask another artist to work on this, if I was going to ask somebody to ink this for me, then I would certainly be more exact or more precise with my inks, or I'm sorry, with my pencils, and then let them know exactly where I wanted the ink lines to go. But when you're your own inker, you don't have to be as precise with the pencils, which is one of the cool parts about if you do ink your own work. On the flip side of that, you kind of lose out the ability of what that other artist brings. Sometimes having somebody ink your work brings another quality to it that you can't bring on your own because you would never see it. It's their skill set, what they do, and that's a pretty cool thing too. So, hope everybody's enjoying so far. I do have. Hope my hand's not obscuring too much. I don't know. I haven't really, to be honest with you, I have not really rewatched my videos. It's I don't know. It's a little awkward, right? It's like, if you hear yourself recorded or video yourself or something, it's a little weird. So I'm hoping that my hand is not obscuring too much. You're able to see what I'm working on and how I'm doing it. The rig I've got is up and to my right. So I figured being a lefty, that would cover most of the, give you the visibility of most of the area that I was going to be working on. So, the eyes, some eyelids in there, and sort of squinty because he's angry. Bring the forehead in. And so if anybody did not see the first broadcast that I did with the Taskmaster piece that I did, I kind of explained the way I work as far as inks go. I like to work from small to large, meaning I use the Pigma Micron pens primarily when I am inking, and this is an 01, which is one of the smaller sizes. There is one smaller than this size, but it's a little too small for what I'm doing here. And then as I go, as I want certain areas to be darker, the lines to be thicker, heavier, then I'll come back over them with pens that have a larger tip. But that's just me. That's how I like to do it, and everybody is a little bit different, you know. I know that there's some artists that really like to work with a larger pen to start, and then add the finer details later. And yeah, that's the beauty of it. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. You just kind of do what you do, however it works for you, and that's all there is to it. So teeth here. Hulk tongue. The other thing is, and again, I think I mentioned this in the first video, and you know, for anybody who hasn't seen, so if I repeat myself, I apologize. But one of the things you'll notice is a lot of artists, and myself included, we sort of jump around. You'd think like, right, I work the eye across and the nose and down through the mouth, and maybe I'm going to come around here, and then I'll sort of jump back over. Maybe the next thing I'll do is the hair, if that catches my attention, or start working on this cheek area, or you know, whatever the case may be. It's just, I don't know. It's just one of those things, how it goes. Sometimes I just jump around, and like I said, I've noticed that most artists tend to do that. We sort of jump just to whatever, either it's necessity, you know, I have to ink this part before I can ink another part, or it's just the fact that this over here has grabbed my attention, and maybe we're all a little ADD, I don't know, but for whatever reason it is, we really, you know, most of the folks I've seen drawing, even to the professional level, tend to sort of jump around a little bit. So if I do, don't worry, it's pretty normal. So I'm actually going to bring his ear in a little bit. So one of the things about the Hulk that's always cool is the Hulk has had a million different sort of looks and designs and styles and stuff over the years. He's been green, gray, green again, gray again. He's had short hair, long hair, no hair. So the thing about the Hulk is you can kind of do whatever you want, because there's been so many variations on Hulk over the years that there's really no right or wrong way as far as, you know, the hair and whatnot. So I just kind of wing it. Like, I think every time I draw the Hulk, probably do it a little bit differently. One of the great, I really liked it a lot, the Planet Hulk storyline from a few years back. Anybody who's not a big Hulk reader, the Hulk got blasted into space. The heroes got together and said, "Hey, you know, this guy's gonna destroy the world if we're not careful, and you know nothing can really stop him." So they trick him into a rocket and send him to where they think is going to be a wonderful, peaceful, quiet existence, which of course doesn't turn out that way. He ends up on a planet and has to become a gladiator to survive, and ends up leading a rebellion and becoming, you know, the leader of this world and all this kind of stuff. And but the cool part was just the way the Hulk looked. I really dug it. He had sort of this short, spiky hair and wore gladiator armor and stuff, and it was just a really cool idea. And I really liked the way it was executed and stuff. It was a great storyline, and then it led into a whole thing where World War Hulk, where he came back to Earth, all, you know, pretty mad and looking for some revenge and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool storyline the last few years. But the cool part for me was both the look of the Hulk and the portrayal. He was green, so he was as strong as the Hulk is, but he was also smart and crafty and had a pretty nasty temper, as the Hulk is wont to do. But never changed back. The whole time he was there, never changed into Banner, really, which was pretty cool. And just sort of lived on this alien planet as the Hulk. Which was, again, just kind of a cool idea. So what I'm going to do here is, again, I'm doing what little bit of shading as I go, kind of where I know I want to do stuff, but as well, just sort of really working on what is referred to as the contour lines. So that's the outline, getting the shape down, making sure that you can tell this is the back of the arm, this is the front of the arm as it's cocked back, getting ready to punch somebody. So really working on that, because one of the things that I'll be doing is I'm going to be coming in with a couple of shades of green markers to add the shadows to the figure, and then that way, again, just adds kind of a different element to it. And I actually want to go ahead and do that. Then I'll come back in and add some of the more texture stuff that I want to do, which is, again, just a different approach to it. Sometimes I'll do this, depends on the paper I'm working on, the figure I'm working on, the color scheme, all that kind of stuff. With the Taskmaster one that I did full inks, full rendering, all the hatching and detail and touch, then colored over that. So here what we're going to do is I'm going to work with the contours first, getting those down, and then from there getting the shading, the rendering I want, all that kind of stuff. So kind of like that. And because he's hunched over, you've got to shorten up all this. You know, normally if he's standing straight up, his abdomen would be much longer, but because he's hunched forward and I'm again, moving head and hips apart. This is then bent, and so we've got to shorten that, compress where he's bent. All these muscles over here. And then there's his pants, the old classic purple pants. And I'll even do kind of ripped, and then top of that leg, like I said. Okay, so again, from here in my head, I know where I want the shadows to go. I know where the light source is going to be, and I know what I'm going to do as far as the rendering goes. But from here, I do want to do the shading with the green markers first. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to now gently, with a kneaded eraser, get these for 50 cents or something, I think, at a just about any art supply store. You squish them up like that, warm them up. They kind of work like putty, but they erase. They erase the pencil, and they're a little more gentle about how they do it than your traditional, kind of big white eraser type thing, whether it's old shoot up eraser like that, or, whatever kind of eraser, back of the pencil eraser, pink eraser. I find that this is, like I said, is less damaging to the paper. It's also going to pull away less, if not no, ink, which is important, especially if you've gone in and you've done a drawing where you've put in all those real dark, heavy blacks. Like I colored his hair all black and inside of his mouth black and all these black shadows, and then you go to erase it and you find that all of a sudden the black ink doesn't look so black anymore. Sometimes if you're a little heavy-handed with the erasing, it'll pull the ink up as well. So hopefully that's not the case the way I'm doing it here. All right. So if you're somebody who works in similar stuff using similar materials the way I do it, I think you would find that these kneaded erasers are pretty helpful. So I've got 3 greens that I'm going to be using on the Hulk. I've got a light green. This is called a spring green color, and it's going to be for the lighter shade. Then a grass green for sort of that middle tone, and then the mistletoe Copic for sort of the real dark shadows. And again, I'm just like the last video, I always work light to dark, so I'm doing this first, then here, and then here. So have to first determine where the light source is coming from. So for me, again, just like the last one, I'm going to work from sort of the top down, like it's a diagonal this way. So anything that would be on this side, like right here, this is going to be very light. And I may just, for most of the highlight, I'm going to use the green of the paper, because any ink that I put on it will be darker. This side of the head is going to be shadowed. Anything the head is blocking is going to be shadowed. Under here, all this side, certainly under here, that's going to be more shadowed. So here we go. So like I said, you can see the idea here. I'm putting this lighter green, and I'm leaving the green of the paper, instead of obviously white, because we don't have white paper, as the highlight. So that's where the light is striking. So the light is hitting the side of his nose there. The light is hitting his lip, the edge of that lip there. And just a little bit of the chin, and then it's going to darken up from here. Come around. Some of these wrinkles and folds of his brow where he's real angry, those are going to have some light on them there. Still shaded, but a little bit less shaded. And then underneath, actually I'm going to use the larger end for some of the bigger areas. Go in here. And then as the bicep is round, so if the light's coming here, it's going to hit the top, but as it goes around, it's going to be darker on the sides until it gets to the underneath part. So we're going to have a little bit of shade there. Certainly going to have just a touch over here, and then that's going to be more like the shade. And then that's going to be a highlight area there. So, like I said, one of the cool things is just seeing how, how does this marker work being on green paper? Normally I'm going to be working on white paper. So to come in and be like, and see if I put this light green color on this green paper, it's going to read as darker than it normally would. So it's kind of cool to just play around with that and experiment and see what it's going to look like and build up the colors and all that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit of just, experimentation, trying something out and seeing if I like it and how it goes. So maybe do a little bit here. And then mostly I'm gonna come in with some of this, and I may go back, I may add some shading with the other green again. If I find some areas that I've left white that I really want to add just a touch of shadow to, I can do that. Let's see. So this is kind of the mid-tone as far as the shading goes and stuff. So you're looking at kind of that middle where he's green, but the like I said, the color of the paper is the light part. So I want to bring in the darks and darken up that green more in areas where the light's not hitting as much. So from here it's going to step down and get one step darker. And then here we go. And especially this side of his head and face is going to be pretty dark. There's going to be a lot of light hitting it. The light's coming from here. So that's going to have the light there. Do a little bit of that. Definitely here. The neck area. So let's see. All right. Tony, glad you joined, man. It's good to see you. I can't wait to try to see you guys when we come to visit in September. We're going to be up in the middle of September, and can't wait to see you. getting in all the shadow areas, knowing that I'm going to go one step darker for some of it. And a lot of it I'll leave this base green, but some of it's going to go a step darker where there's more shadow. So let's see here. All right. Tight here. So there's a lot more of this mid green that I'm going to do. Actually, here we'll do a little bit here, under here. I'm just going to jump to some of the darker green, that third green, to kind of show you, what I'm talking about as far as how I'm going to apply that and where that third tone's going to come in. So actually, the whole piece will have 4 tones of green. The green of the paper is the lightest, and then everything darkening from there. So let's see. So, okay. And so the next tone, again, is this G46 Copic. It's called Mistletoe, but it's a nice dark green color. Let's see. So what I'm going to do here is add it to the Hulk, where there's going to be shadow. So the cheekbone, where the side of the lip kind of makes that crease, underneath the nose, where that's going to be blocking the light, kind of down this way, under the lip, even under the chin over here, and then all the way down to the jawline, and kind of blending it in a little bit. Inside the ear, it's going to be dark. Underneath where the hair is going to overlap, that's going to be dark. Side of the nose, this very side part of the nose, around the eyes are going to be pretty dark. Pretty heavy shadow there. Let's see. There. Definitely here where the jaw has, covers up part of the neck, and then inside all these tendons and veins of the neck. We're gonna do some of this to really help pop those. So, this area over here. Again, the whole concept is just from the lighting standpoint. I'm just working on the idea that the light is up here, coming down across. So this side of his face is going to be a lot more shadowed. And here, kind of blending in those muscles a little bit. Let's do a little. Just kind of soften that up a little bit. So lighter green. Okay. Of course, back here under the chin area is going to be very dark. Under here is going to be very dark. Feathering it out a little bit. Okay. And then so let's go back to kind of the mid-tone. Again, you know, so now this part of his shoulder, certainly up here, maybe this part of the shoulder, this collarbone area is going to pop out a little bit. So as the light would come across, it's going to hit sort of the top of this area and whatnot. So I don't want to make that too dark. So I'll bring some light back into it by giving it a little bit of a lighter shade. Again, the way I work is always from light to dark. And again, what that helps me to do is if I have an area that I think should be light and, you know, lighter in color, lighter in shade, and I make it such and come back around and look and go, boy, you know what, I kind of messed that up. That should be really shadowed, or I think it should be a lot darker than what it is. All I have to do then is darken it. It's easier. You can always add that dark color, but you can't make something lighter once you put it down. So some of this, connect that there. I know this is going to be, this is that green right in the middle there. I know it looks darker, but that's just because it is wet. And then certainly that chin and his head is going to be casting this shadow down in here still. So that's going to be cut in as dark, and then color in the chest. So one of the things that I'm very excited about, and kind of gets me in this mood to be drawing, to be sketching, and just kind of doing something different, just doing whatever strikes my fancy, is that I'm going to be doing a comic book convention coming up here next week, or next weekend. I'm going to be at the Texas Comic-Con in San Antonio, excuse me. Texas Comic-Con in San Antonio next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's a really good show. It is. It's got some great guests. There's a lot of local artists that are very talented. I've been to the show a couple of times before, but the last few years I haven't been able to attend just due to scheduling. And this year, the scheduling portion worked out really, really well, and I'm very excited to be able to go back. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then after that, so that's this coming weekend, next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then after that, I'm going to be in Houston, Texas, at the amazing Houston Comic-Con, and that's going to be over the Labor Day weekend. So that I think is I want to say is the first weekend of September. I'll be there for that. Which is going to be great. I love going to Houston. Love the area, the people. Houston is awesome. So very happy to get back there and doing that. And then after that will be the, as I mentioned, the Vermont Comic-Con in Burlington, Vermont, where I grew up. It's going to be a lot of fun to go back home and see folks, take a little vacation, see family, see friends, but also be able to go and show them, what I'm working on, what kind of stuff that I'm doing, and what I'm up to now with the comics and drawing and conventions and stuff. So it'll be very cool. So coming in, and then I definitely want to bring in the dark here. beauty is, not only am I able to bring in, a dark green color in here to help with the shading, but when all is said and done, also going to be coming back in with black shadow, both in the rendering portion where maybe doing some hatching and kind of adding that, but also just spotting some solid blacks where the shadows lie, and that's going to even help add more dimension, more 3D quality to the figure. It's going to make things pop out, make things drop back. So that's going to work out pretty well, I think. So far, so good. So here we go. So here's more shading, more shadow, green shadow. That's pretty good. So, right. I want to bring in this green. So one of the things I'll tell you about that I get asked a lot about when I go to conventions is people will ask me, how can I do it, right? So people see, artists in an artist alley, they're aspiring artists themselves, and so they'll ask me questions like, how did you get into this? How did you get started? What do I need to do to be able to do this? And one of the things that really does help is speed, especially if you're going to be in artist alley and if you're going to take any kind of request, you need to be able to draw relatively quickly. If you absolutely can't, or also the other part is being able to draw in front of people quickly. If it's just not something you're comfortable doing, then probably going to a comic book convention and having a couple thousand people walk by your table and watch you draw isn't necessarily for you. So that's one of the things I tell people is because you're going to hear a million things from everybody as far as aspiring artists, is draw every day. Draw everything. Draw cars, draw buildings. Don't just draw superheroes fighting. Tell stories. Make sure you're working on the different parts of your craft. Everybody can say that. Learn anatomy, learn perspective. You've probably heard it. If you're, like I said, if you're an aspiring artist, you've heard all of these things a million times. But I tell people, if you're ready to, you think you're ready as an amateur, somebody who's not a professional comic book artist, but you wanna pay the fee and get your own table at a comic book convention, and you've got some art to sell and things to draw and things to say, go for it. That's why they're open. That's why you can do it. Everybody can do it. But definitely think about what is it going to take to draw quick. So at this point, this is about 50 minutes. I started at 8:30. It's 20 after 9. So if somebody commissioned a color Hulk sketch, it's going to take me, you can see here, about an hour, give or take. I got some more to do, but an hour, give or take. That means that in a 10-hour day, I can do 10 sketches. So over a 3-day weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday show, maybe I can do 30 sketches tops. And that's assuming that something's not a little more elaborate. Bigger sizes take longer, whatever the case may be. Somebody wants multiple figures, whatever they come up with, those things can eat up time. So definitely think about it. If you can't draw somewhat quickly, you're going to run into trouble down the road. So let's see, let's add some color to the Hulk's eyes. And this is one of the dilemmas I actually have about the Hulk, and I've done a bunch of different, I've got hundreds of Hulk comic books and Avengers comic books, and I've done a bunch of research, looking at stuff on the internet or pictures from the movies and stuff, and I always find myself going, what color is the Hulk's tongue? Right? If the Hulk's skin is green, is his tongue pink or is his tongue green? And it depends. Sometimes I'll color it green and sometimes I'll color it pink. So for this particular case, I think I'm gonna go with probably a pink on the tongue, and a little bit of the gums that you can see there. So I've got a pink marker, and we're gonna I think with the green tinge to the paper, the pink's going to come through just fine as a little bit color tweaked. You know what I mean? Not quite that rosy pink that it would have started out with. So that should work pretty well. All right, and then the very last thing here is the pants. Let me see. I had all the other colors out that I needed, but I did not think to get the purple that I needed. So let's break out some purples. I got blue. Where are the purples? So I have a number of different small, like, pencil case bags that I keep all of my markers in. I try to organize them by color and do that. So I've got a couple here. I've got a pale blackberry and amethyst. So let's see which one is going to work, or if these are both going to work. Yeah, so work. So I'm going to hit it with, this is the lighter of the two purples for his pants. There was actually a joke at one point about why does the Hulk always have purple pants? And, of course, the real answer is that you would give a character like the Hulk a purple pants, if you will, because that's the only kind of costume that he really has. Because green and purple are both secondary colors and are kind of opposite one another. You've got purple being the red tone, green being the blue tone of yellow, if you will. So green and purple clash with each other, create contrast, create interest. You'll almost always see characters in comic books, if they are purple, they will have green costumes. If they're green, they'll have purple costumes. Think of characters like the Green Goblin, the Joker, I think Dr. Octopus at one point was green and purple. So green and purple is very, very common for a lot of characters. Those colors go well together. But in the comic books, they joked about the fact that the Hulk had purple pants. They tried to say that had something to do with the gamma radiation that he gave off. And so every time he turned into the Hulk, whatever color pants he happened to be wearing, the radiation would turn them purple. I don't know if that's how long that lasted, if that was something just maybe from the 80s when I was a kid. They felt the need to explain it and we all kind of bought it, or if we all just kind of went, who cares? If I'm willing to buy that a 98-pound guy is going to turn into this giant monster, I think I'm okay buying into the fact that his pants could be purple, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do here now is the hair, and I kind of want, this isn't going to be exactly the way I just penciled in, but the light's coming here. So light's going to strike this part of the hair. So even if you have black hair, dark hair, it's still going to reflect that light. So it's still going to be a lighter color up top. And then, you know, it's coming across and then it's going to hit maybe some more hair. And so this part might be a little bit lighter again because of the curve of the head. This is the top. And then on this back side, it's going to be darker. So actually in through here, even though I drew it to be lighter, I'm going to darken it in all the way over here. Because, as the old saying goes, when in doubt, black it out. So, if you're not sure and you think you could put a shadow in there to cover it up, go for it. So, I've gone back now to the Faber-Castell Pitt pens. Awesome India ink. This is the brush tip pen. I can get a lot of bigger areas all at once with this, and if it's got a good tip on it still where it hasn't been too beat up, it actually can work really well for kind of feathering in, if you will, for things, effects like hair or anything that's kind of rough. It gives a more natural line because of the brush tip than if you had just your regular pen, which is a very straight, always the same exact width line. So with a brush you can get some different looks with the brush tip. Some black eyebrows here. So now what I'm going to do is just go with the next step, the medium tip here, and I'm going to come in and fill in some of the smaller detail areas with that. Get some of the little points and chunks of the hair kind of, get those blacked in. And so the way I always figured it, you know, the Hulk's hair is always drawn black, sort of with green highlights. And the way I figured it is as it's that his hair is so dark green that it comes across at essentially almost as black. And then if you see it, you know, and he's in the light, it would look like it's green. So I always tend to do, like I said, where it's shaded in the shadows, black, and then the green highlights where he needs them. Eyebrows in, real dark, real heavy, real furry, real like caveman type eyebrows. Okay, and then we'll do area in the mouth where he's shadows in here. Let's get this. to use the green again. I'm going to use I'll start with the light green. For the highlight in the hair. I'm still going to use, especially on the real top part here, up in here, I'm still going to use the white of the paper. Not the white, but the green, I guess, of the paper, the lightest tone of the paper as that highlight where the light source is hitting his hair the strongest. And then some of the shadows. Kind of like that. And then, so theoretically, you know, a lot of people, there's nothing wrong with stopping here and saying, okay, this is a sketch of the Hulk, and it's in color, and, you know, it looks okay, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. For me, I'm going to keep going. Again, I hope everybody enjoys this. I know this video is going to be a little bit longer, but hopefully you're having a good time, whether you're watching it live or watching the replay. I'm going to come back in and add those darker black lines and shading where the shadows would be, especially on the line art, and then that will help really, again, pop out what we want to come forward and push back what we want to put in the background a little bit. So again, things like in here. So primarily I'm going to use these heavier lines wherever you see the darkest green coloring. That's going to, I'm going to actually use the brush pen. We're going to actually give this a really heavy shadow under here, under his chin. And probably in that ear and part of his head's going to cast a pretty heavy shadow here, under here, under here. And then I'll use line work to feather that out underneath, especially back in here. This is so far, you know, this is the farthest part that's removed from the light source. If the light source is off the page over here, this is so far away that, you know, there's no reason this wouldn't be kind of blacked out, really heavy dark shadow. And again, I could do it, I could bring in an even darker green tone. You know, I've got kind of an olive green tone that I could use if I wanted to instead of the black coloring, but, you know, I just like the weight of the heavy blacks. It's part of the comic book look, I guess, right? For me, is that heavy black tone. You think of the outline, the way comics were made, that sort of stuff. So we're going to use good old-fashioned black ink. A lot of times I find with a lot of the artists that I know, if they're working with a piece that they know is going to end up being computer colored, they will not add almost anything as far as the black shading goes, the black shadows. And the reason is they're leaving it open, you know, that's the term, is you leave it open for the colorist. And then the computer colorist can do so much with computers that what they'll end up doing is just essentially shading it completely with the computer colors. And I like it, and it can look really good, especially if you have a really talented colorist. But for me personally, Oh no, I still like the black and white look. I still like that black and white tone. Whereas if you took the computer colors away and all you had was black and white, I want to see the shading. I want to see the tone. I don't necessarily want it to look like one of my daughter's coloring book images, where there's no shading, there's no indication in the light. It's just here's an outline, and the colorist did the heavy lifting for you. So that's just me. Makes me think sometimes I'd like to work in a totally black and white project. I think that'd be kind of cool, where it was mostly done with either, some gray tone maybe, but a lot of like just that hatching and the rendering. And I know a lot of people will look at that style these days and go, "Oh, that's so 90s." And yeah, the cross hatching and stuff was certainly very popular in the 90s. Part of what, launched a lot of books at that time. But I think if you do it right and you're really dedicated to the craftsmanship of it, it can look amazing. I highly recommend, if you like that kind of stuff, if you're a purist and you really enjoy any kind of comic book artwork, I recommend that you go online and look up Arthur Adams' work, and especially anything of his that you can see that's in black and white, because he uses cross-hatching almost exclusively for his shading, to the point where there's very few blacks. There are some kind of spotted black areas where there's real heavy shadows, or if a character's costume is black. But when it comes to just the shading, a shadow in the background, texturing along something, he uses cross hatching, and it is amazing. You can also see he has a couple of videos on YouTube. Again, just you can watch him, and it's just watching a master. The guy is incredible. For anybody who, again, if you're not an artist yourself, anybody who's watching this, let me see if I can find my sample paper here. Here we go. Give it just a quick idea what I'm talking about. So, especially in the old days before computer coloring, basically, if you wanted to show that something, that when you inked everything was solid black, solid white. So, if you wanted to show that you want to go from, let's pretend this is solid black to white, and you want to vary it, what you would do is you would come out with these lines, and this is cross hatching. You're just bringing lines across, and the more that you bring in here and the more lines you put in, the darker the hatching gets, until you get to a point where you spread it out and it gets lighter and lighter, and so it goes from light all the way to dark. And again, if you watch Arthur Adams do this by hand, the man is incredible. He's a machine. He's cross-hatching, and it looks like every line is exactly the same width apart. It is phenomenal. So yeah, I really highly recommend those YouTube videos of Art Adams drawing. They're really incredible. Yeah, I'd love to do something like that someday. Really, kind of art. I don't know. Really, really fancy. I don't know how else to put it, but just really hitting the black and white, the hatching, and just be really cool. So let's see. I'm gonna go a little bit thinner for some of this, especially around like the mouth. I definitely want a slightly thicker line, but not too thick. Kind of see. Okay. And let's do, again, slightly thicken the line up here just a little bit, but not too much, because again, this is where the light is really hitting. So for here, I just want to get there. Here, this is going to be a little bit darker here. And then here. And that will kind of help with that. And then, let's see, I want to get back to my Pigma Micron that I started with and start to just feather out some of these darker shadows. And that's kind of what I was talking about, you know, trying to explain with the hatching before. By adding these lines, your eye reads where the lines are as slightly darker because there's color in between. So it's a shadow without it being solid black. And a little wider, and that just brings those down. So that adds a little element there. Same thing in here. And I'm sort of following the contours of the body, and that will add some shape and some dimension to it. So here we go. Here's some of that, just a little bit underneath here. A little bit under here to emphasize the shadow that chin would make. And maybe just a little bit underneath the nose. And there you go. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much the Hulk portion of it colored. Now, there's a couple last things I want to do. One is I'm going to add, again, just a sort of a neutral color in the background. What that does is, instead of just having the line separate where the real light green is from the light green, I can come in and take a neutral gray color. I gotta find the one I want. The old classic, never go wrong, warm gray 1. This is one of the markers that I use more than just about anything else. And we can build this up. And it's going to be interesting to see how, when the marker dries, how does the warm gray combine with the green to make another shade of green. So I'm going to just get the larger areas I want to block in here all the way around the Hulk. Some under here. And then what I'll use after this is done is, after I've got the large areas blocked in, I'll use the brush tip to kind of create some, basically to kind of create some shapes to smooth this out to the background, so that it's not a hard line of dark gray. So let's see here. Okay, so now I'm going to take the brush tip, and I'm going to come in, sort of using a circular motion, kind of bring it out, and kind of sort of dot it out a little bit. That'll sort of break up that line. So I kind of like what's happening up here, sort of fading, which is kind of cool. Bring that same concept to here a little bit. And you can see, you know, it's when you put the marker down, it looks a lot darker than when it dries. So that's one of the cool parts about, you know, sort of just experimenting and seeing what's going to happen. I wasn't 100% sure how this was going to work and, you know, what the warm gray was going to look like, but I had kind of a gut feeling it was going to work, and I'm kind of liking the way that this is coming out here, so I'm pretty happy I went in this direction. So I'm going to bring this down all the way down to here. Okay. You know, one of the hardest parts about any piece is knowing when to walk away. I'm not gonna lie to you. So now I want to add a little bit of white. This is the Uniball Signo white gel pen. I like this a lot because we use the green paper. So things like the whites of his eyes, the white in his teeth are actually a light green color. I want to bring in the white pen. Again, let's see, it really makes those pop, which is what I wanted to do. Bring in the white here. I'm going to do a little highlight on his pupil there. Oops. It's all right. Okay, so there's some white elements there. Do a little highlight on his nose, a little highlights on the shinier parts here where the lip, where the light would be hitting. What I want to see this here. I'm going to I want to add some color in here. And that's what I was talking about, where it's a lot easier to go from light to dark because I can always add, but you can't subtract. So I like that a little better. And white highlight there, there, there. There's that. And then last thing is just the white highlight around the outside of the black outline. Again, really just adds that last visual element for your eye to play with. Gives you one more thing to kind of add volume, where it helps, whether you realize it or not, helps push the image away from the background, even though it's not a really big design element of its own per se. It's just adds something to add that gives the viewer something to look at and hopefully makes them enjoy it a little bit. Let's do a little bit of white in here. As I was just saying, the hardest part is knowing when to walk away. And sometimes we go a little too far. But you know what? What the heck? It's all fun, and as long as you're enjoying yourself while you're doing it, that is all that matters. So there we go. There's the Hulk on green paper. Let me sign it. Sign it in white down here. That'll really show well. And here, let me take it off the board so you can see it. And here we go, up close. So here's some close detail. The face, some of the line work on the face, that hatching and shading in the neck area. See how vibrant the green is up close. And there we go as we fade back. So there is the Green Hulk and Periscope number 3. I hope you enjoyed it. I appreciate everybody who checks out both live and in the recorded video. So please, if you have watched it and it's still up for the 24 hours, please share with anybody that you know that you think might like it. I'm just looking to hopefully entertain some people, let them see some live drawing that maybe they don't get to see all the time, and go from there. So thank you. That'll probably be it until for a couple of weeks. Like I said, next weekend I'm going to be at the Texas Comic-Con in San Antonio, and you know, who knows? I'll have my phone. Maybe I'll do a quick Periscope video while I'm there, just showing everybody the layout and how the show is going. So, but as far as actual drawing stuff, that'll be it for now. Signing off. Thank you, and hope everybody had a great weekend.